What's up, guys? Welcome to Archer Amplify. I'm Archer. I'll be here every Monday talking to you about my job as a full-time musician and all the hurdles that come along with that. You'll hear about shows, songwriting, and everything that goes on behind the curtain. If you're curious about when I'm playing my shows, make sure you go to archermusicxx.com to check out my show schedule. Also, give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Just search Archer Music XX. In the last episode, I talked a good amount about the Batcave. In this episode, I'm going to expand on that. I really did learn a lot in that little storage closet. Honestly, I had absolutely no idea then that it would help me out now. Okay, let's recap a little. Junior year, I took a guitar ensemble class, and it took me long enough to take it, but it was for ultra beginners, and I already knew how to play. My teacher was Mr. Dillon, and to grade me in this class, since I already knew how to play guitar, he put me in this storage closet, and everyone called it the Batcave. That was its name, with all students, all teachers on that part of the school. So Mr. Dillon taught me how to record and how to set up music things and how to use GarageBand, because we had, school laptops, and they were Macs, so we had GarageBand. And, so this one day, we had half a day, and it wasn't like go to the first 2 classes and then you leave. They wanted to get all of the classes in, so it was like, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes in each class. I really can't remember how long half-day classes were, but they were like, let's go with 45 minutes. So I was in the Batcave, and the door is a solid door. Like, it is thick, like a soundproof type door. So anything you really hear outside is kind of muffled. So I was in there, and I forgot that it was half a day. I was writing a song, and I was fully immersed in the songwriting experience, and the bell rang, I guess, but I didn't hear it. I was playing music. So, all of a sudden, I stop and I'm like, wait a minute. That was the bell. Like, I have a test in my next class. How late am I? So I packed my guitar up, run in the class with Mr. Dillon. I was like, Mr. Dillon, did the bell ring? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what, why didn't you get me? When did it ring? He's like, I don't know, like 15 or 20 minutes ago. I'm like, Mr. Dillon, I have a test in the next class. Why didn't you come get me? And he literally goes, you were writing a song. I didn't want to stop you. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, can you write me a note or something? Like, I have a 100-question test that I have to go do. Can you please make me not get in trouble? So he's cool enough, and he wrote me a note, and he even walked with me to tell my other teacher what was going on. I think he told him that it was his fault that I was late, that I was helping him with something. I don't know, but honestly, I was writing a song, and I don't even think I finished writing that song, but I wrote a song, and that was why I was late. But I ended up getting 100 on that test, so I'm really glad I studied. I didn't have, near as much time to do it as I should have, but I still got 100, so it's fine. Okay, back to the point. Like I said, that door was pretty thick, and I would sing so loud, and honestly, I didn't think that anybody else could hear me. Like, I would sing so loud, and I guess that, when people walk in the hallway or whatever, like, they'll, when they go to the bathroom or something, they'll hear me. Well, I'm like this quiet, shy person, so whenever I'm in the hallway and they're like, hey, I heard you singing the other day. And I'm like, what? You heard what? Yeah, I heard you singing, I don't know, like that Taylor Swift song. I don't really know it, that song. And I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, it sounded pretty good. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, I was so scared, like, I didn't know people could hear me even a little bit. Like, it was a thick door. I didn't know people could hear me. So that was a nice thing to learn. I don't think I sang very loudly after that. But I don't know. I was still a quiet person. I still sang quietly. unless I was in that room. Every day, I'd sit in there writing new songs and learning new songs and memorizing chords and learning new ones because Mr. Dillon was always like, you need to learn some new chords. Put some spice into your songs. Learn some jazz chords. And, well, I don't like playing jazz chords. They're hard. I don't know if you've ever played a jazz chord, but it's hard. It was hard for me at the time. I've gotten a little better at it now. I respect jazz music, but I just can't play it. I could if I tried, but I can't. I don't want to. So, yeah, I would try to learn those chords and be like, Mr. Dillon, look what I did. And then he'd be like, okay, now go practice it some more. So, it was really cool, though, to be able to be in that room. If you don't know me, I'm very much an introvert, very shy, very quiet. If I'm in a new area, I will sit back and observe until I figure out kind of what group of people I want to be around or where I want to be at. I didn't really talk much. I still don't really don't talk much. And honestly, these podcasts are pretty cool because I'm alone in a room by myself and I still get to talk. So I'm comfortable. But anyway, not the point. This room really helped me be away from people and it helped me to recharge because in high school, as a quiet, young girl, I was around people all day. And I'm also a person who, like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm like an empath. And so an empath is when you have someone who's highly sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive person. So I can absorb and feel other people's tensions or happiness or whatever emotion they're having or feelings they're having. I usually tend to take it on. It's really not the best when it's like a negative thing and someone's mad and upset and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm mad, but I don't know what I'm mad about. It's really not fun. Anyway, that room really helped me to recharge and be able to kind of separate myself from everyone else's emotions because I needed to focus on my own. Because when you're a junior in high school, you have so many that you don't really want in the first place. So yeah, and I even got to decorate the Batcave. My friend and I, we put a sign up on the door that said the Batcave, and I think we drew a little Batman logo, so everybody knew that it was the Batcave, and then everybody also knew that it was mostly me that was in the Batcave. But I think eventually some students started using it as well, after they figured out what it was. But one year they had an extra wreath, and I think it was they had some Christmas thing going on, and there was an extra wreath, and Mr. Fry, the chorus teacher, had it, or Mr. Dillon had it, and I just remember asking somebody for it. I'm like, hey, can I have this wreath? And they go, what are you going to do with a wreath? I'm like, I'm going to make the Batcave Christmas. It's going to be a Christmas Batcave. It's going to be great because I love Christmas. So there was a single nail hanging in the room in concrete. So it was there for whatever reason. Someone worked really hard to get that nail in the wall. And my friend and I just hung up this huge wreath, like arm span, like it was my arm span in, diameter. So we hung up this huge wreath and it smelled like Christmas. And I love the smell of not pine trees, but like Christmas trees. I love the smell of Christmas trees. And so it was a real wreath and it smelled like Christmas. And it was there all over break and no one even messed with it when everyone was out of school. So when we came back in, it was super dry, but we had a wreath and it smelled so good. And I remember going in there and telling Mr. Dillon, it smells like Christmas. Can we keep it? And he's like, no, you need to throw it out now. Like, it's old. It's getting everywhere. I'm like, but Mr. Dillon. He's like, but we have to vacuum. Okay. So I had to take it out and throw it in the dumpster. That was a sad day for me. It was the end of Christmas. But anyway, senior year, we all had to do a senior project with a mentor and everything. We had to log hours with them, work with them. I think we had to write a whole speech, do a trifold board, all of that stuff. And I wanted to do something, not, you know, I wanted to do something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, not, hey, like, what can I, like, random thing can I do? So I asked Mr. Dillon, I'm like, hey, can you be my mentor? Can you teach me more things so that I can, you know, present it? He's like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So I started using my time in class to work on my senior project, and so I would go ask him all these questions, and he'd come back and answer them. I'd take notes. I think I had to do an interview with him or something like that, and I think I had to interview him. I had to write a paper. That was it. I had to write a paper. I had to present it, so I had to write a whole speech and a trifold board, and so because it was a recording thing, I provided a song too that I recorded myself during the process, because the process was recording, like how to record a song, how to, set the time, how to change the key, how to, change or set up the EQ and all of these things. And it was pretty cool because the teachers that listened actually seemed pretty interested in it. So I played the song at the end, and, it went pretty well, I think. Later on, when I graduated, I ended up being in a band, and it really showed how much the Batcave helped, because I would work on songs all of the time. I would learn new songs all of the time, commit them to memory. Granted, they were all mostly Taylor Swift, but that's not the point. I was still exercising that muscle in my brain and working on learning new lyrics and writing new songs and learning the new chords, and committing them to memory so I could have a list of songs that I knew. And I remember one time Mr. Dillon literally said to me, you know 10 songs and that's great, but can you imagine one day you're going to have over 200 songs committed to memory and you're going to play them all the time? And I was like, what? No, that's a lot. No. He was right. um, yeah, he was definitely right, because I had to learn songs, for the bands I was in, plus the songs from my shows, plus the songs for other bands if I was filling in. So it really helped me to exercise that muscle when I was younger and kind of start taking on stuff like that. And also, another thing that I learned to do was watch hands. Mr. Dillon is an insanely good guitar player, in my opinion, and I learned to watch his hands to figure out what chords to play. And yeah, he had to play them slower for a little bit, but then I finally caught on and was able to memorize the chord progression and, keep it going from there. It really helped if it was only 3 chords through the whole song, but, not the point. I'd practiced and started exercising that part of my brain as well. Yes, it's all music, but I feel like it's all different parts of the brain, I guess, or a different way to use it. And that was another thing that I had to do when I was in the band. Um, I still have to do that, even though I'm not in a band right now, but I was for a good few years, and they would pick up songs like, hey, let's play so and so and so and so by this. And I'm like, oh, I don't know that song. Like, okay, it's fine. Just follow along. And I'm like, okay. And it was kind of stressful for a minute. But I would watch the lead guitarist's hands, and I learned how to figure out what to play on the acoustic guitar from an electric guitar. So if they were playing like some weird bar D chord or whatever, or like some other chord shape that was supposed to be whatever I was playing, I don't know, I would figure it out pretty quickly and be able to continue with that. So that was something else that I learned during my time when I was in the back cave and working with Mr. Dillon. So that really helped out a lot. Yeah, like I said before, the back cave was honestly my favorite part about high school. I didn't really like the rest of it. Everything else was it was just for graduating and going to college. It really wasn't, I think I liked art class, but that was because I'm just a creative person in general. So that was really it. I didn't really like anything else. I didn't want to stay there. I didn't want to stay in high school. Like I said, everything else was for graduating and going to college. But Mr. Dillon's class was for me because that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I knew that then. I just didn't know how I was going to do it for the rest of my life. And, even though I've graduated, I still talk to him and he's still my mentor. I've gained more mentors over the period of, the years since I've graduated, but he's still, one of the people that I will text or call and be like, "Hey, can we get coffee?" Or right now it's, "Hey, can we get virtual coffee?" So I can talk to you about my music and ask you your opinion on things and what you think I need to do or is the best decision. So it's really cool to find someone, even when I was that young, that believed in me and saw what I could do in music. The only other person that did that was a music teacher was my guitar teacher, Justin. And I had stopped taking lessons for a while now and hadn't been in contact with him. So it was really cool to have a new teacher that believed in me like Justin had when I was much younger. That was my whole favorite part of high school, and I'm very, 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 very thankful that I took guitar ensemble my junior year. Honestly, it's too bad I didn't have the courage enough to take guitar ensemble until my junior year because, I would have learned so much and probably progressed so much more, but I can't think about that. I need to focus on what I did learn and what I've been able to accomplish and what all that time has taught me because it's taught me a lot. I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot from that. Another thing I did do while I was in the Batcave was work on a website. So I spent all this time working on a website that would never, be published. It was, only for me just to have something fun to do, another way to be creative. So that's actually helped me a lot with making my website now, or and making ideas, creating ideas, showing something online that can flow and it looks decent so I can capture someone's attention. So on that note, make sure you go check out archermusicxx.com. I have a song out called Colors, and you'll find that on there, also on iTunes, Apple Music, and Spotify. Just look up Colors by Archer. Also look up on YouTube. There's a lyric video out for that as well. Up next on Archer Amplified, I'm going to talk to you about my first band that I was in, called Huckleberry Blue. I'm going to tell you all about the things that I learned in that and a couple of interesting band stories. So, stay tuned, and please make sure to go follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search Archer Music XX.